Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to the TFT Perspective. Viewers, there's an article which recently appeared in the Guardian newspaper, and it talks generally about how India is facing immense pressure and trouble in the Indian occupied Kashmir with a new wave of resistance with new strategies and tactics. The article titled High Tech Strategic New Wave of Kashmir Militant Attacks Before Election Stuns Indian Forces. So they're mentioning basically the upcoming elections in the Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir and how the resistance movements inside Kashmir are not abiding by the rules being implemented by the Indian government inside Kashmir. Now things are heating up because new strategies, new tactics are being used. We're going to talk about this issue. We have with us Mr. Vakar K. Korvi. Sir, what does the article title completely ingest when it comes to Indian security forces and new type of tactics being used? What were the old tactics and how can you describe this new threat in the Kashmir Valley now?
Now, before coming to that, I'll just like to highlight that in 2019, 5th August to be precise, India actually abrogated all the status that occupied Kashmir had, whatever, I think, little autonomy they had. And then it shoved almost more than 1 million, military and paramilitary, army and paramilitary. And they wanted basically to ensure that nobody comes out and there are no protests and they'll be able to suppress it. And then gradually, they will first, let's say, bring down its status to union territory. Later on, like they have done basically bifurcation of the occupied Kashmir, like Ladakh has become another union territory. And then Jammu Kashmir Valley and Jammu will be, basically maintained as a union territory. And later on, after elections, they may, very graciously dole out that, okay, now you have statehood. And they have a lot of stooges who can work for India. Mm-hmm. Now, it was also assumed or appreciated by Indian political military leadership, especially the RSS-led government ruling the Rajpat, that ultimately they are going to take control and they're going to, take control of so-called militancy and with pumping in a lot of billions of dollars, they're going to bring development and everything will be hunky-dory. But this is not, I think, happened. On the ground situation is that right from day one, I think, one, the tactics by the freedom fighters or Mujahideen has changed. The other is in last 2 years, it has taken a very different color and shape. For instance, as this article suggests that one, they are using high-tech weapon systems, maybe sniper rifles, night vision devices.
Yeah, it was also mentioned that M4 carbines were also used. In attacks.
And then you come to drone warfare for logistics and maybe supply of ammunition. And I think one of their, actually the army chief mentioned that this latest weapon and equipment is coming from Afghanistan. It is the same, equipment which was left by the Americans. So they are trying to link that probably Afghans are also involved. So all told, situation is out of control. And if you look at the groups, in the olden time, you remember they were basically blaming Lashkar-e-Taiba or Jaish-e-Mohammed and basically trying to link it to terrorism. Now this is more like people's resistance. So if you look at the groups, you have Kashmir Tigers.
Yes.
You have the resistance front and you have the People's Anti-Fascist Front.
Yes.
So basically it is the people, mainly youth, because if you look at what happened after 5th August 2019 is that 14,000 young students from schools and universities are still missing persons. And I don't think so. The information has been shared with their parents, maybe through questions, some of them have been handed over. But otherwise, so many young boys have been, taken to different places in India and they were tortured. So there is a lot of, I think, resistance in the youth because on ground they've done nothing other than rhetoric and, bringing, let's say, right-wing MPs from European Union and showing that this is normalcy or holding some international conferences. And it has not worked. Even for the pro-India, I would say, nationalist leader like Mehbooba Mufti and Abdullah's, there has been no change in the, let's say, state of people of Kashmir, including, Valley and including the Jammu region. So this is, I think, very, very important, needs to be discussed more, that why Indian military is failing to stem the tide of resistance.
Yeah, and another interesting point the article mentioned was that instead of getting killed either in suicide bombing or in an ambush, in Fadain attacks, the new militancy tends to wait for tens and tens of days, attain their targets, and then hit the Indian military at its weakest. So they're also logistically moving from one place to another quickly. So, and we have actually seen this new wave of militancy very active in southern Kashmir, especially in southern Jammu areas. So, how do you see this? Jammu is by and large, when it comes to the cities, is predominantly very Hindutva minded and everything like that. But when it comes to the new upsurge in resistance attacks, we saw recently that a lot of the Indian military was trying to, ramp up insurgency operations, but they were hit. Their trucks were hit, and then there was an ambush on roads as well. And then they apparently last time, when it comes to last 2 years, we used to see and witness that India used to operate, do search operations, kill around 4 to 5 people, and then come up and say that we have killed these militants. But now they don't seem to even find a single print of these militants anywhere.
I think it's a very, very professional force, whosoever is operating it. And as you mentioned that they are using ambush tactics, sniping, and ambush require a lot of patience. For instance, as mentioned, that they would wait for days and days, and when the target would appear, then they will hit. And so far, Indian military has failed to actually, let's say, identify who are these people. They are trying to basically link it with Pakistan.
Indian media is usually putting up blame over the Pakistan army that they are training these people, they're coming across the line of line of control, and that then they also are claiming that somehow Chinese have, given this new movement a new name, just like we mentioned that liberal names.
Yeah. actually, when India fails, look at their budget, almost 85 to 86 billion dollars a year. And what they have, got for the Indian people. The line of export control with China, I think recently Doval went there and literally, touched feet of Putin, and then asked that he should basically, motivate the Chinese side for disengagement. And on the other side, the media is, creating a hype that Chinese have run away. I mean, this is just absurd. And then Rajnath Singh has been, time and again boasting that we'll get hold of POK and we will, and then making a call to the Kashmiris, come and join, just look at their, I think, absurd narrative. So I would say that mainly the tactics being applied has frustrated the Indian military. They have not been able to find a solution. The other is use of, I think, high-tech weapons, professionally trained people. And then I think drones have also come in for logistics and maybe supply of ammunition, which is, I think, something which was also replicated recently in Manipur.
Yes.
So it means the resistance groups are actually now learning from each other. And you may find it happening in Indian Punjab also, in case the Khalistanis rise up. So if you look at, I think, strategy adopted by these groups and the way they are operating, it gives a lot of encouragement to the Kashmiri people who are mainly in prison. It's known as the largest prison.
Yes.
That you imprison almost, 90 million people. So it's not a joke. 9 million people. Now, if you look at the areas, as you mentioned, south of Pir Panjal, which is generally low-lying Kashmir, you have Doda, where they have their, and even Udhampur, where they have command headquarters of the Northern Command, Riyasi, again, and then you come to Jammu. If you look at south of Coromandel range, which is generally a plain area, and by and large was considered that probably this area is devoid of, resistance. As the Indian call it militancy, but we call it resistance. And recent statements by General Huda, who's been in Northern Command, that things are getting out of control and Indian military needs to come up. There's also, I think, Italia's failure, that they have not been able to give any proof that it was China or Pakistan supporting this resistance. Mainly it is indigenous. And if you look at the kind of technology they are using, it's very similar to what's happening in Manipur. So all told, I think maybe things will start heating up. India was very sure that before elections are starting on 18th of September, and I think they go up to almost second week of October, and will cover Jammu and later on the valley also. So they were basically, and then I think Modi did go to occupied Kashmir to just show the bravado and 56 inches. Everything was very normal, and the amount of security that was put in. I think a complete division was deployed in the Northern Command to protect Mr. Moody, and nobody snipes him. So I think India is going to have a very tough time. And resistance, I don't think so. India is going to overcome that.
Yeah, when it comes to the new form of resistance, we have also witnessed drones being used to drop in munitions and weapons from one place to another. Then we also have witnessed the same group operating from one end to another in quick succession within like 2 to 3 hours. So the Indians are claiming that they are coming either from Pakistan or the Chinese are training them. How feasible is it for a person to move from Pakistan, enter Indian occupied Kashmir, get munitions at the same time, and then move at least 3 hours away from that place in order to make an attack and then come back with full safety? That's also a sort of achievement if the Indians are claiming that the SSG is doing this.
Yeah, if you look at, I think, southern Kashmir, especially south of Pir Panjal, and you basically look at areas of Nashara Valley, then you have areas even, in front of Kotli, the number of salients that India has. And then you come to area which is, let's say, Doda, Riasi, and Jammu. Look at the line of control and the working boundary. It is highly fenced actually. And India has spent billions of rupees on fencing that. So I'll not buy this idea that people could, just walk through the fence. So where is that, they have a complete 9 corps which is deployed in Ravi Chenab corridor. And then if you go up with the 15 corps and Northern Command is very thickly deployment along the line of control. So I don't think so, Pakistan, and if they approve, they should just come up. I think it is the indigenous people and youth is really now well trained, and they probably have spent those, if you look at last 4 years, since because this resistance started two years back. So if you count from 2019, I think they went to the drawing board and then they looked at what kind of strategy and tactics they would adopt, and it's come as a surprise. So India should look into what is happening. And in any case, occupied Kashmir is a disputed region, and the people have all the right to even pick up gun and fight for their freedom.
Yeah, another important factor is that previously the resistance fronts used to post pictures, upload their content on different social media platforms. This time the new resistance seems to be very quiet when it comes to communication. They don't just show their bravado; they just do actions, go back to their places, then repeat it again. So do you think it's a wiser strategy in order to engage the overall general population within the Indian occupied Kashmir in order to rise up? But what kind of message are they trying to communicate, either by completing their missions, but remaining very silent when it comes to communication?
I think the pro-word actions speak louder than words. So I think there's no need to display themselves, because now if you're putting it on social media, definitely there is some signature that you leave, and there are chances that you will be detected. And it happened too, like even Burhan Wani Shaheed. He was very popular on social media, and he also, I think, in terms of injecting a new spirit in the Kashmiri youth, he did a big job. But ultimately, I think one reason was that he was on social media. So it's a good strategy. Why you should just do it? I mean, it's not basically it's a freedom fight. It's not I would say a show on TV or TikTok. It's a serious business.
Yeah. And what kind of message the new resistance is trying to send to the international community? That the Indians kept on suggesting that the resistance has been squashed, all the Hurriyat leaders have been arrested, the political side and political sphere of the Kashmiri freedom movement was completely jailed. We saw what happened to Gilani, and then Umar Farooq as well. He's been recently released, but he's very sad these days. The new upcoming political leadership when it comes to the Hurriyat, and then this armed struggle. How do you foresee the Kashmir resistance movement shaping the lives of Kashmiris in the upcoming years?
I think one thing is very clear, that in case you suppress the people and whatever little freedom they had in terms of autonomy as you mentioned, Sayyid Ali Gilani,
Mm-hmm.
when he passed away, the Indian military was so scared
Mm-hmm.
that they didn't allow actually even the funeral to take place. So it was buried very quietly. So if Indians, think that Kashmiri youth is not watching it and basically they can terrorize them, I think they are mistaken. So there are, I think, two messages. One is that the freedom fighters will definitely innovate and come up with creative ideas.
Mm.
And the last, I think, as I mentioned, from 2019 till 2023, when this wave started, they were on the drawing boards and thinking about, coming up with a strategy and tactics which would surprise the Indian military and then also give a fillip to freedom movement. Now, this article appearing in Guardian itself is indicative of the fact that Kashmir issues internationalized. The only thing is now Pakistani media, Pakistani diplomacy has to pick it up and take, because this is a very, very genuine case already lying pending with the United Nations. But as I always say that ultimately it's your resistance. Nobody gives you freedom on the plate. So if the Kashmiris have decided, I think it's a welcome mayor. And the other message is that they don't have to appear on social media, on TikToks. Their actions basically speak louder than their words. And Kashmir's freedom struggle is alive. And then I think there's a message for rest of the oppressed communities. Like Khalistanis, you have Indian Northeast. And if you look at the bigger metrics of the Indian security, India is burning on its three corners. Now if you look at the extreme northwest, all that's occupied, and then you link it with the Indian Punjab, already there is a simmering current. So this area is highly destabilized. We have seen what happened in Himachal Pradesh and Shimla. First time, Shimla is like Murree, in Pakistan. It's a tourist hub that Hindus, Hindutva, flag bearers basically went and ransacked a mosque, and then I think it was demolished by bulldozers, and the police were just watching. And we have seen, people singing on that. And it has disturbed the so-called, communal harmony. Then you come to northeast, the other corner. You have Manipur is burning, so cookies are fighting, and we have discussed it in detail in the previous, podcast. Today we also have another news that Nagas, and we depicted that Nagas are going to, come up because they see now a situation in the northeast where they can definitely draw concessions. Now, if you look at the Naga, basically National Socialist Council of Nagaland, which is actually an independent entity. They have a prime minister.
They have their own army.
They have their own army, and I can read their statement here from some of their websites. Recently, they have actually ambushed a couple of forces, including Assam Rifles, and then there were other groups which resist Naga. And this was basically an Indian ploy to pitch against Nagaland. I think there was some movement between the Indian Nagaland and the Myanmar Nagaland. And they said that we were able to send the enemy away, causing massive damage to the fleeing enemy forces. The Indian, actually, Assam Rifles is supposed to be, the tiger of Northeast, ran away. And then NSCN, basically this is Isaac Muiva group. So basically it's the most, I would say, vocal, and this is the group with which Modi went and signed a very secret accord. Nobody knows what was in that. They basically say that NSC and Isaac Muiva then gave thanks to the Almighty God for his unwavering love and protection to Southern Command of Naga Army of NSC and Isaac. So it's not only that they have an army, they have command structures, Northern Command and Southern Command. So now you come to South, which is by and large not discussed in Indian mainstream media because Dravidians are considered a different species by the North. And nor I think Pakistani media has time to discuss it, even on social media. In Karnataka, first time, I think Ganesh Chaturthi had a lot of resistance. Because Karnataka is basically a Congress-led government, but mainly they are secular people. And mind you, Karnataka is also the birth of Tipu Sultan area. Rangasrangapatam. So, or Mysore. So this time, and there is a lot of clash going on between South India and North India. Even M.K. Stalin and his son this time have supported that we don't want this Sanatan Dharma anymore. So there is definitely, the southern, I would say, corner is also likely to start burning. Physically, it is also simmering. So all told, I think Indian policymakers have to realize that in case they keep on oppressing, and then as we mentioned that in Naxal hit areas in Bastar forest, Indian military has acquired 150,000 acres of land. Here in Pakistan, even if the military is, let's say, make some cantonment in a couple of acres, there's a lot of hue and cry. 150,000 acres of land was given to Indian military in Bastar forests, and because they feel that next wave is going to come from Naxal fighters or Naxal Republic. So there is a concept of Naxal Republic. So if you look at India, north, west, you have Khalistan and occupied Kashmir. Dalits can have their own country. People talk of a Mughalistan for 250 million Muslims. South is the Vida Nadu. Northeast is already fractured. Then you talk of Greater Bengal. So I think they'll be left with this small little cow belt. So India could break up into 7 pieces in case they don't behave.
Yeah. So that's it for today, folks. Please do leave a like and subscribe our channel. Thank you so much for watching us. Bye bye.